Joe Biden has now been president for just about 4.5 days. And already we're seeing a whole lot of regret from people who voted for Joe Biden. You see, some people thought Joe Biden was going to get them a check for $2,000. Turns out it was $1,400. You see, they already got $600. He's going to give them $1,400 more. Many leftists were like, no. We thought we were getting plus $2,000. Sorry, not going to happen. Many people thought they were going to get a $15 minimum wage, and they didn't. Joe Biden just signed a pledge to explore giving federal workers a raise to $15 an hour. More importantly, and this one bewilders me, Pipefitters Union and many people working in petroleum are shocked to discover that Joe Biden is going to put a moratorium on new fracking on federal lands, and he's terminated the Keystone pipeline, destroying tens of thousands of jobs, and they're shocked by this. But many people are acting as though Joe Biden lied about all of this. I'm seeing a lot of posts from the right where they're like, the media claimed Joe Biden wouldn't ban fracking. Joe Biden has been completely clear, as far as I can tell, looking back at the previous stories, as to what he was going to do and what he did. Stories going way back talk about Joe Biden wanting to cancel the Keystone pipeline permits, which he did. And they talk about Joe Biden saying, no, he's not going to ban fracking. He's going to ban fracking on federal lands, which he did. In fact, it's not even a hard ban. He's basically saying that you have to go through specific individuals, which is very hard to do if you want new permits to frack on specific land. Now, many on the right are claiming that this is a more general, broad fracking ban. And I think there's a little nuance to break down here. What many on the right thought when the media said Joe Biden will not ban fracking, they thought he meant period. But the stories actually break it down. He was going to ban some fracking, not all. You see how they play this semantic game? The funny thing about it is it doesn't matter if you're on the left or the right what your opinion is. What's funny is that you even have, I believe it's Politico or one news outlet saying that the Pipefitters Union supported Biden even though he was going to cancel the Keystone pipeline and put a ban on certain fracking. They knew it. They reported it. These people still endorsed the man, and now they're coming out with statements being like, I can't believe Joe Biden would do this. He told you exactly what he was going to do. See, it's not about misconception. It's not about media lies. It's about Joe Biden doing exactly what he said he was going to do and people being shocked by it. Now, I guess to a certain degree, there are some things people on the left, the far left, thought he was going to do, which he's not doing. He's not so far pushed for a federal $15 minimum for everyone, even though that was claimed. And people thought they were going to get $2,000. They're not. Another thing he did was he put a freeze on Donald Trump's executive order pertaining to discount medicine prices for insulin and EpiPens. He's frozen that, which means people are not going to be getting discount drugs. It might not actually work. It may not have worked in the first place, but Biden's freezing it now. So a lot of people are going, wait, what? That was one of the things we liked that Trump did. My friends, listen, if you thought that Joe Biden was going to come in and save you, you were wrong. It's something we've been saying the entire time. And if you're on the right and you thought Joe Biden was going to come in and do half the things he claimed he did, you were probably wrong as well. But to be fair, he is doing half of the other things he said he was going to do. It seems like the far left is getting a bit of the shaft. But still, I guess the environmentalists like the Keystone thing. So he's kind of screwing over everybody just a little bit. Hey, surprise, surprise. Many progressives said Joe Biden was going to be the corporatist progressive. So it makes perfect sense what he's doing. Shutting down Keystone is surprising. He's throwing a bone to the far left, I guess. That one's confusing. But the drug prices thing, not giving people a stimulus, that, well, can I say that's completely predictable. So look, we got a bit of a mixed bag here, to be completely fair. And, there's nuance in all things. So let's run through this and break down exactly what everyone's upset about. And basically everyone is upset. And I'll tell you, the one big, slap in the face is that there are people who knew Joe Biden was anti-fracking and anti-fossil fuels. They voted for him anyway. And now they have the nerve to be like, oh no, our jobs. But these unions endorsed the man. Makes no sense to me. Let's read the news. Before we do, head over to timcast.com if you would like to become a member and get access to members-only content, more positive stuff, and uncensored conversations. The purge is happening. A lot of people are getting banned. And if you want to make sure that our work can continue here at Timcast IRL, becoming a member is the best way to do that. Plus, we've got a bunch of bonus content, the latest of which is, as you can see here, Alex Jones waking up Luke Rudkowski, who is rather perturbed by Jones just barging into the RV. And it's just fun. It's not political. It's just behind the scenes stuff. And we also have a bunch of other content where we talk about things that YouTube pretty much frowns upon. So look, what we're trying to do is build a user base so that we can't get banned. I know a lot of people want me to produce more and more and more content to break down the news because, well, I believe it's true, and many do as well, that I tend to be fair as possible when it comes to these stories. But I can't do everything all the time, and we have to balance things out. So we're trying to create new stuff, challenge the system, and we need your help to do it. Timcast.com, become a member, but don't forget to like, subscribe, hit that notification bell. Let's read the news. From Fox 40. $2,000 does not mean $1,400. Some Democrats criticize Biden's stimulus checks amount. You see, this one's really, really simple. Everyone already got $600. So Biden says, nah, give them the other $1,400. But you see, when it comes to the left, they want more and more and more. I think this is a good example of the fact that when they say they want to increase, base pay to $15 for everybody, a federal minimum wage, they really want 20, 30, 40. There's no end to this. What Joe Biden is doing, in my opinion, actually fair. He said 2,000. They gave everyone 600. So he's like, I'll make sure they get the 2,000. No, people want 2,600 now. You see how that works? You give them an inch and they will take a mile. But this isn't the biggest story in the world. Some people don't care. A lot of progressives are upset about this. But take a look at this. Here's a story from the LA Times. Trump utterly failed to cut drug prices. Here's how Biden could do better. Okay. They say it's a sort of sour welcome for the Biden administration and a final slap in the face for Trump. America's drug companies jacked up prices on hundreds of prescription drugs, including some of their top sellers at the very start of this year. Market analysts say the median price hike was 4.8%. Take a look at this photo of, I guess it's doctors high-fiving. There's a high five back there, and Trump signs the executive order, and it says, flanked by supporters in lab coats, President Trump signs executive orders on lowering drug prices in July 2020. But he never managed to actually implement price reductions. That's the important point. A lot of people are claiming that Trump did it and Biden reversed it. In actuality, Trump tried to do it and Biden is trying to prevent it from taking place. So no, the prices haven't dropped just yet. But here's the latest from Bloomberg Law. Biden's HHS freezes Trump insulin and epinephrine rule until March. Epinephrine, for those that aren't familiar, is EpiPens. So it's a adrenaline analog. So if you're having an anaphylactic reaction, you're having an allergic reaction, you're going to die. They give you this thing, this auto injector, and then it saves your life. They say the HHS Thursday froze the former Trump administration's December drug policy that requires community health centers to pass on all their insulin and epinephrine discount savings to patients. So this is different from the one I previously read. This one came from December. Centers that don't pass on the savings wouldn't qualify for federal grants. The rule, which was finalized in late December, is delayed until March 22nd, the Department of Health and Human Services said in a Federal Register post. The freeze is part of the Biden administration's large-scale effort announced this week that will scrutinize Trump administration's health policies. Interestingly, I hear from a lot of establishment lefties that they're fine with this. But I see from a lot of people who actually rely on insulin and EpiPens being like, no, this is bad. Even if the price wasn't yet reduced, we were hoping it was going to come into effect. Why would Biden do this? It's tribal politics. I think Biden's all about supporting those who supported him. But clearly that's, well, I think it's fair to say to a certain degree, because clearly it's not the case with the Keystone pipeline. What did these people think? Did they think that by voting for Biden, he would change his mind on fracking and the Keystone pipeline? Did they think that he was only saying these things to pander to woke lefties and environmentalists? Dude, the dude offered you a bill of goods and you bought it. And now you're complaining that's what you got. I don't understand the rule change on this other than Biden probably supporting massive pharmaceutical companies, or maybe he genuinely thinks it's bad to have cheaper goods or that executive authority shouldn't be allowed to do it. I don't know. If it was just about him being corrupt and wanting to make money, why would he shut down Keystone XL unless it's more about ideology? Some things, well, climate change, for instance, the Democrats are much more invested in than, say, pharmaceuticals, which makes them tons of money. Take a look at this article from October 9th. This is from the American Petroleum Institute. Quote, Joe Biden will not ban fracking. Kamala Harris says Joe Biden will not ban fracking. That is a fact. I think the big issue with this story is that Joe Biden never said that they were going to leave fracking alone completely. This statement, Joe Biden will not ban fracking, was taken as a direct and general statement that he wouldn't ban all fracking. When in reality, it's been clear, even to the American Petroleum Institute, that he would not allow fracking on federal lands. In this article from Mark Green. They actually have a quote. It's not enough to say that you are against banning fracking when you, on the other hand, say you will restrict development of oil and gas on federal lands. They do mention that they are past statements, saying past anti-industry statements from Biden and Harris may suggest that a Biden administration could still restrict natural gas and oil development using the means above, or even do an about-face from their no fracking ban position. It was well understood that Joe Biden and Kamala Harris had repeatedly said no new fracking. They had said we're going to get rid of it and all of these things. So when Trump called him out and the media claimed Trump was lying, they were wrong. Biden had literally said this and Trump called him out for it. But in terms of what Biden actually stated, okay, Biden did say we won't ban fracking. We will ban fracking on federal land, new fracking, and we'll shut down Keystone. From his own mouth, people voted for him. Take a look at this from Politico. But this is let's get the date on this one. This is from 8/18/2020. And they say Biden gets pipe fitting union backing. President Trump may be pitching oil and gas growth as part of his reelection bid and decrying Kamala Harris's anti-fracking, but at least one pipeliners union has decided to back this Democratic challenger. Biden won the endorsement of the United Association of Union Plumbers and Pipe Fitters on Monday. 359,000 members spanning sprinkler fitters, pipeliners, and plumbers. Despite Biden's own pledge to block the Keystone XL pipeline that the union continues to support. In fact, UA earlier this month said it was ready to get to work on the stalled project after reaching a project labor agreement with the developer TC Energy and 3 other U.S. labor unions. It's remarkable. Now we have this. Oil industry reels as Biden targets fossil fuels in first days. What did you think was going to happen? Okay, look, maybe Joe Biden will use, so the American Petroleum Institute says maybe he'll use regulatory red tape and other tax, programs to make it really hard to do fracking, right? Or fossil fuel exploration in general or new permits. That's how they can say they won't ban it. It's a trick. We're not going to ban it. Also, if you want a permit, it costs $1 million. And then when no one can pay for it, they probably could pay for $1 million, but you get the point. They put restrictive barriers in place so that it's still technically legal, but almost impossible to actually accomplish. But come on, the dude said he was going to get rid of Keystone. He did. How could you complain about this? Take a look at this story we got here from Como News. Labor unions criticize Biden against Keystone XL pipeline. President Joe Biden won an estimated 57% of union households across America in last year's election. But one of his earliest actions in the White House on Wednesday, a flurry of criticism from leading labor groups. His executive order revoking federal permitting for the long-delayed Keystone XL pipeline project. Here we go. The quote, sadly, the Biden administration has now put thousands of union workers out of work, lamented the United Association of Union Plumbers and Pipe Fitters. Hey, that sounds familiar. The United Association of Union Plumbers and Pipe Fitters endorsed the man. So please, spare me your fake outrage. You know what my opinion is on all this? I think the labor union sold out their members. That's it. They knew exactly what Joe Biden wanted to do, and they supported and endorsed him. And I'm sure many of these union members didn't actually like the guy. But guess what? They sold you out. They knew Biden wanted to shut this down. Now, look, there's a statement being put out by many of these unions about the Keystone pipeline, and there's real arguments that need to be had. You see, the left just says, don't do it. Oil pipelines are bad. Okay, well, then what? Freight? Truckers? Is that better? That produces more gas. Now, some people say, but the Keystone pipeline leaks. Okay, well, look, I think it's simple. We need to have a conversation about the amount of damage caused by pipeline leaks because human error, and the emissions produced by tankers and freight and the damage caused by that. And maybe whether or not we should be reducing these projects in the future and focusing on other energies. I'm totally down for that conversation. The argument from these unions is that they are pro-energy, pro-natural gas, and pro-safety, but also that it is actually greener. It reduces emissions to transport oil by pipeline instead of by truck or freight train. Maybe that's the case. Maybe then we're talking about weaning ourselves out of this dependency, and the pipeline does make sense. Many leftist groups says it was simply a Native American issue, that it was spiritual lands, sacred burial grounds, and they shouldn't be allowed to build there. That doesn't seem like, I'll take that into consideration, no doubt, but it doesn't seem to actually work into the real arguments about why we're doing this. If the argument is actually for renewable energies, it seems like they're just saying that as an emotional push to try and get people to agree with them. Long story short, look, I'm not a big fan of oil pipelines. I'll be completely honest. I understand the arguments and I'm willing to have a conversation. I don't have particularly strong opinions one way or the other, but I do prefer renewable energies and would love to see nuclear perhaps. I don't know if this is the right or wrong thing to do in terms of like building more pipelines, but maybe the answer is no new permits on new pipelines or honestly, a better national debate on the issue. Look, I'm not going to pretend to be an expert enough on this to give you an opinion. The left will tell you they're right. The right will tell you they're right. And I'll do what I typically always do and say, don't look to me for your political answers to everything. I don't know. What I can tell you is if you are in this union that is supposed to be supporting the members and you knew Biden was going to do this, don't come to me complaining that he killed all these jobs. And I'll throw it out there for the right as well. Many people are acting surprised by this as though this was a betrayal to the union. No, the union knew he was going to do this. They're complaining now, and I find it to be completely disingenuous. I think they're just saying this so that their union members think they're on their side. I'm not a big fan of unions. I'm a big fan of collective bargaining. But I think the union leaders probably knew what they were doing, and they're safe. They don't care about you, and that's why I've never been a big fan. They sold you out, and now they're pretending to care about you. Welcome to politics. That's the reality of this. My favorite, however, is Justin Trudeau. Really. Canada's Trudeau is disappointed with Biden order to cancel Keystone Pipeline. Oh, okay, Trudeau. Come on, man. You're far lefty. Your country is particularly far left. But that's right. A lot of jobs in Canada are now being lost because Keystone went into Canada as well. You get what you deserve. You reap what you sow. Am I supposed to defend you now when you were in favor of this? When the left and these unions were supporting this? Right now, progressives are cheering for the move, saying Biden kept his promise, and they're happy that it's being shut down. These union workers should have realized that Biden is not on the side of the working class. Hillary Clinton said she wanted to shut down coal production. They're telling you to your face. I feel bad for these people who voted for Biden. And you know what? I'm seeing a lot of people who are mocking the Biden voters for regretting their decision, be it progressive or moderate, traditional liberal. I won't do that. You know what I'll say? I'll say, now do you understand? I'm sorry they did this to you. I tried to warn you, but I know you did what you thought was best. Welcome to the fight. I got no beef with those who voted for Biden because they were tricked. I got beef with those that were tricking people into doing it. Namely, that leaders of these unions who knew he was going to do this and still supported him. And I'm sure there are many union members who are freaking out like, what are you doing? And now they're pretending to be shocked by this? Spare me. These are the elites that lie and manipulate the working class for power. I don't care if it's the right or the left. When you manipulate good, honest working people who just want to get by, you are the bad guy, not the dude who was tricked into casting that ballot. I'm disappointed in those people for sure. But look, here you go. Let me read this. Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau says he's disappointed at Joe Biden's decision to cancel Keystone XL. The president made revoking the permits of the controversial energy project by executive order one of his first actions in the White House. Mr. Trudeau expressed his frustration with the cancellation of the pipeline, according to a readout of the president's first call with the leader. Trudeau said, the prime minister, quote, raised Canada's disappointment with the U.S. decision on Keystone Pipeline. The prime minister underscored the important economic and energy security benefits of our bilateral energy relationship, as well as his support for energy workers. Quote, the prime minister and president reiterated the urgent need for ambitious action on climate change, reaffirmed their commitment to the Paris Agreement, and agreed to work together on net zero emissions, zero emission vehicles, cross-border clean electricity transmission, and the Arctic. Trudeau has been a strong supporter of the $8 billion plan to carry around 830,000 barrels of crude daily from Canada to Nebraska, 830,000 barrels of crude oil. No country would find 173 billion barrels of oil in the ground and just leave them there. The resource will be developed. Our job is to ensure that it is done responsibly, safely, and sustainable, he said back in 2017. Obama had rejected the pipeline, but it was given the green light under the Trump administration, despite objections from environmentalists and Native American communities. The Biden administration says that the repeal of the pipeline's permit is among the critical first step to address the climate crisis, create good union jobs, and advance environmental justice while reversing the previous administration's harmful policies. The U.S. federal government was sued last year by 2 Native American communities amid claims they were not consulted about the pipeline crossing tribal lands. Joe Biden was clear. On May 18th, 2020, Biden would yank Keystone XL permit. It was no secret. Anybody who's just finding this out right now, I feel very, very bad for you. Over at the AP fact check from October 13, Trump falsifies Biden's stance on fracking. They say, Trump, quote, one of the most important issues for Pennsylvania is the survival of your fracking industry. Biden has repeatedly pledged to abolish fracking. He's a liar. He's a liar. Now, full stop. Biden did. Numerous times he told people he was going to do this, but these were the instances where Biden thought he was going to get away with it. Someone walks up to him and says, will you ban fracking? Oh, yes, honey, we're going to do it. He said many things like that. Publicly and overtly, however, Politico says, he was very much in favor of banning fracking on federal lands. And now there's a moratorium on new fracking, which is shocking these people. Biden may still ban fracking. I'm just saying right now, there's the things you need to consider. Just because Biden hasn't pushed a $15 minimum wage across the board doesn't mean he won't. Just because he froze Trump's policy on epinephrine and insulin doesn't mean he won't try to reduce drug prices. But he did literally shut down Keystone XL. This AP article goes on to mention that he will ban fracking on federal lands, as I've already showed you, which is why I bring you now to the next one. New Mexico officials taken aback by Biden assault on oil and gas. Oh, just get out of here, man. I don't want to hear it. Okay. New Mexico, you had overwhelmingly supported Joe Biden. So you think I'm going to come here and now be surprised, or concerned about? No. You were all given your opportunity to know what you were voting for, and you voted for it. Now we have the Ute Indian tribe. And I bring this one up because we heard about Keystone XL and we heard Native Americans were upset. So Obama wanted to pull the permits and Trump pushed it forward. Megan Barnett Bloomgren reports that the Ute Indian tribe does not mince words in their response to Interior's order restricting federal energy development. Your order is a direct attack on our economy, sovereignty, and our right to self-determination. Why, you see, Native American land is considered federal land, which means you can't do fracking on their land with this new executive order. So which Native American tribes do we support? Are we supposed to be upset about the white supremacy or privilege in Keystone, but then ignore what the Ute Indian tribe actually wants? Look, man, news, you often get grifters on the left and the right who want to tell you one side of things because they want to push what they think you want to hear, hoping they're going to get clicks and traffic. I look at my video title for this one, groups that endorse Biden, it's backfiring on them. And I think that's fair to say. I don't think it's as simple as many people have put it, or I should say Twitter makes it really hard to give you the nuance of the situation. Is it black and white? Absolutely not. Joe Biden has done some things that have angered progressives and angered moderates. But Joe Biden has done some things that, many progressives like. They like that he banned Keystone. The issue is that the Democratic base, the votes they got came from all across the board. It's what doesn't really work here. They were trying to find a coalition, and they found one. We hate Donald Trump. That's their coalition, which meant you had progressives who wanted Keystone banned and union workers who didn't want it banned. All that really matters is if you supported Biden knowing he would betray you, then I'm sorry, that's your own fault. And if you didn't know you were being manipulated, well, then I feel bad for you. The progressives thought they were going to get a $2,000 check. Sorry, it's only $1,400. The union workers thought he would turn around and support them. Surprise, surprise, he's carrying through with what he said. He's trying to pander to everybody. And that's what happens. Look, you're not going to get a perfect reality on this one. I can point out some other hypocrisy, though. How about we do that? From Joe Biden, a wall will not stop the coronavirus. Banning all travel from Europe or any part of the world will not stop it. This disease could impact every nation and any person on the planet, and we need a plan to combat it, says Joe Biden, March 12, 2020. Did he have a change of heart? No. Biden to implement. Yes. Biden to implement travel restrictions to combat new coronavirus variants. Okay. A year ago, he said it wouldn't work. Now he's saying it will. All right, fine. If he realized he made a mistake, then sure. The reality is, I think that Joe Biden was just trying to be anti-Trump. That's really all that matters. Joe Biden repeatedly said Trump has no plan. And if the left kept saying if Joe Biden was president, things would be different. I'm sorry. That's just not true. Okay. Here's a statement from, the White House, the actual White House. He goes on to say, the American Rescue Plan addresses the growing housing crisis in America. Approximately 14 million Americans, 14 million have fallen behind on rent and many risk eviction. If we fail to act, there will be a wave of evictions and foreclosures in the coming months as this pandemic rages on, because there's nothing we can do to change the trajectory of the pandemic in the next several months. Nothing you can do? I thought you had this plan. I thought you were going to do, he did the mask mandate. That's not going to change the trajectory at all. We were all duped. It's the same game we see over and over again. When Trump first got into office, I was laughing too, because what did he do? One of the first things he did was a commando raid, which killed a little girl, an American little girl, mind you. So I was like, here we go. I feel bad for anybody who thought they were getting into politics and they were going to get some fanciful utopian vision. Joe Biden, I hope he does something about the moratorium on evictions. I hope he extends it. I believe he may have done that. Now he's saying that he can't do anything, and oh no. Yeah, right. Listen, politicians do this. They do this. The one thing I can say for Trump, in his last year, when COVID hit, I felt like he was doing the best he could, and we had no metric by which to judge what Trump was doing. I felt that Republicans and Trump's pushing back on critical race theory was very important. But the most important thing was, while Trump did a bunch of really bad stuff early in his first few years pertaining to foreign policy, it started to turn around in the last year. He upped drone strikes. That was bad, really bad. He tried to bring out peace in certain areas. That was good. The strikes on Iranian targets, I thought was particularly bad. That one's disputed. Many on the right felt it was a good thing, but I was worried it could bring us towards more war. More importantly, he tried getting our troops out of the Middle East, at least to a certain degree, and Syria. Far from perfect, but I'm willing to accept school choice, opposing critical race theory, trying to get our troops out to the best of his abilities. And, far from perfect. Far. But when Trump left, he didn't pardon Assange or Snowden, and it felt like a slap in the face. It felt like everything he did was just another establishment game. And there were a few good things that I can praise him for, and a lot of people really liked him. Sure. Border security, free trade agreements. Joe Biden is getting in now. And Joe Biden is carrying out the establishment plan. That's always been the name of the game. And what else can you expect? It's exactly what you should have realized was going to happen. And let me show you something here. This is a kind of a last bit on this one. Another one of Biden's executive orders. Biden ends partial ban on transgender soldiers in U.S. military. This story is way overhyped, in my opinion. Trump didn't outright ban transgender soldiers. That's the leftists' manipulation. And Biden isn't lifting some hard ban and allowing, or I should say there was a partial ban. It's being lifted. It's more nuanced than that. The reality is Donald Trump issued a ban on transgender soldiers who required special accommodations. Let me read. They say Trump's ban allowed transgender soldiers to serve as long as they did not require special accommodations, such as hormone therapy or gender reassignment surgery. A 2016 study by the Rand Corporation concluded that medical costs to the U.S. military for transgender-related issues stood between $2.4 million and $8.4 million annually. The real issue was someone seeking to get their treatment paid for by the military. That was the core of the actual argument. So Trump wasn't saying if you're trans, you can't serve. He was saying if you're trying to get your treatment paid for through the U.S. government, then you can't. The actual concern from many people, and I'm not saying it's the absolute majority, was that there'd be people who would enlist for the sake of getting treatment because some of this treatment could leave you, for months bedridden. I'm not trying to be disrespectful or disparage anyone in any way. This is just one of the arguments put forward. There's a video from Shoe on Head. You guys probably know who Shoe is. She's a lefty anti-SJW commentator. And she said that, Joe Biden was going to lift this ban so that we could all die in the Middle East equally. And I thought it was a good joke. It was a good point. Is that really what our concern is? Whether or not someone is allowed to go overseas and then fight in these foreign interventions? I think ultimately there's an argument to be made about getting special accommodations in terms of medical treatment. And Joe Biden lifting it doesn't change a whole lot. And I don't think it's that big of an issue, to be completely honest. I really don't care. Joe Biden saying if you're fit to serve. I agree. Maybe there's a conversation then around someone who gets a medical treatment and then can't serve. And there might be a medical discharge there. It's as simple as that. But I have no concerns whatsoever about someone wanting to go and serve in the armed forces. In fact, I don't care who you are, what your identity is, or what you believe. If you want to serve in the armed forces, I respect that 100%. Maybe there's some things we got to debate and work out. But I don't find it to be the biggest issue in the world. My friends, there are a lot of people who are going to try and play grifter. And that's kind of the crux of this. Look, a lot of lefties are happy with Biden. Not completely. They wanted more. And a lot of moderates are upset with him. And I'd say in the long run, what Biden has done more so I would say Biden has done more things favorable to the far left, like the transgender lifting the ban, as well as banning Keystone. That is far left support. So when you had conservatives saying Joe Biden was going to go far left and push these policies, well, right now it sounds like they were more correct than the left, who felt Joe Biden would be a corporate stooge. He's doing a little bit of that too. but he banned Keystone. Look, it's been 4.5 days, just going on 5 days now. We will see how things play out with this president, and I'll call him out when I think he does some bad stuff. We're getting reports that there's troops being bolstered in the Middle East. A lot of people on the right are already saying he's ramping that up. The reality is we don't know for sure yet. According to the Jerusalem Post, he did not do that. So we have Syrian state TV saying U.S. convoys are coming in, and we have Israeli sources saying that's not true, or many are saying it's actually the same troops that are already there moving back and forth. We got to wait and see. If you want to be angry and you want to complain about Biden and you want to complain about the left or you want to complain about the right or whatever, maybe you'll find some of that here, but I'm just going to tell you what's going on. So if you want to support my work, go to timcast.com. I'm sick of the anger. I'm sick of the negativity. I'll call Biden out when he does stuff, but I don't really have a strong opinion on the banning of the Keystone pipeline. I just don't. Because you could argue that it was a greener project because freight and cars are bad for transporting oil, and that's all it's going to do. Or you can argue that there was several dozen oil spills, I guess, and those are really, really bad as well. Not everything is not so cut and dry. I will say I am sick to my stomach of the either only it's good for the right or only it's good for the left, or only bad for the left, only bad for the right. I'm sick of the people claiming Joe Biden just banned fracking when he didn't. He banned some fracking. I guess you gotta make sure you explain the context. So look, it is what it is. I guess we're gonna work through this. Okay. The next segment will be up at youtube.com/TimCastIRL, and that will be at 8 p.m. tonight live. So check it out. Go to timcast.com, become a member. We are upgrading the site. We are getting everybody's accounts fixed. If you're having problems, go to email members at timcast.com. Look, let me just put it this way. I want to make sure that the information you get allows you for a better understanding of the world. That's the best I can do. It doesn't mean I'm perfect at it. It doesn't mean I know everything, and it means I'll get some things wrong. But it means that I'm going to try to avoid the hyper-partisan nonsense. Right now, this means that the left typically doesn't like what I have to say because I call out the left. But now we're starting to see a little bit of the shift, and the right doesn't like what I have to say because, well, now I'm going to start pointing out the nuance in some of these things. But I think for the most part, as we've often seen, the left has been particularly irrational. I know, call me biased, but most moderate individuals and moderate right-leaning individuals are vocal and supportive. I'll leave it there. Next segment's going to be at 8 p.m. live, youtube.com/TimCastIRL, and I will see you all then.